What's this? Musashi finally has some competition? What is up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about one of the most ruthless samurai of the Edo period, Izo Okada. Now, being only a peasant, Izo's father was one of the lowest classes on the feudal totem pole. As a way to ensure he had a better life for him and his son, he bought the title of Goshi, or a low-ranking samurai. This didn't do much, however, as the low-ranking samurai from his domain were segregated and treated unfairly. This was known as the Tosa province, where Izo spent majority of his time before coming of age. As a child, Izo immediately became fascinated with Kenjutsu and spent many hours developing his swordplay. Following up on this newfound hobby, he meets up with the samurai Takeshi Zuizan and decides to take his skills even further by becoming one of his pupils and learning from his style. This was the Onoha Ito Ryu, which consisted of 150 sword techniques that primarily focused on taking the opponent down in one strike. When you think about it in that vein, it's very similar to Li Shuwen's Baji Chuan. And that was just the first style that Izo decided to learn. They didn't just call him a madman without reason. After this, he traveled alongside Takeshi to Edo as well as other places, incorporating even more styles into his arsenal. The Kyoshin Mechi Ryu, the Kishi Ryu. Yo, if you got on this dude's bad side, you are about to get slumped, respectfully. Now, as I mentioned before in Ryoma's lore, Izo is from a time where the shogunate were out here doing people dirty. And with that in mind, Takeshi was like, we need to be the ones that rise up against them. So they formed the Tosa Loyalist Party, which united certain people from their domain, such as Ryoma. This would serve as a way for them to take down the shogunate and get the power back into the hands of the emperor. Unfortunately, the problems that most people were going through wasn't something that could simply be resolved. See, many of the people of Japan were peasants. For the most part, unless you were a samurai, you couldn't get an education, and therefore you wouldn't be able to find a decent job. Now you're forced to become a bandit, which by extension you would be punished for as well. Catch-22 all over the place. What Izo didn't realize is that when he joined this group, his name was crossed off the list shortly after, and it's speculated that Takeshi only took advantage of his skills to further accomplish his goal. Izo, having learned so much from being around Takeshi, would never expect that his guidance would be short-sighted. He journeys through the region, pledging to assassinate as many officials as possible. And left and right, these officials would fall victim to Izo's blade. He was too fast, he was too unpredictable because of all of his techniques. There was nothing an average Joe could do with him. These are the same slaughters that would lead him to becoming one of the 4 great Hitokiri, or manslayers, of the Bakumatsu period. As time went by, Ryoma decides to defect from the group, adhering to the ideas of his friend Katsu Kaishu, who said, whoa, maybe we shouldn't go around killing everybody and just force them into a corner instead. Through the advice of Ryoma, Izo was able to find a job under Kaishu as one of his personal bodyguards. As a matter of fact, it was Izo that actually saved Katsu's life from several bandits when he was making one of his trips. Once this happened, Katsu insisted to Izo, you're too good for this. You should part ways with the group and join up with him and Ryoma. Izo, still having an undying loyalty to his mentor, couldn't just take Katsu up on his offer. He told Kaishu, if it wasn't for this lifestyle, then you would be 6 feet in the ground right now. Something even Katsu himself could not argue with. Toyo, who was one of the officials from the Tosa domain, was then given direct orders to enforce the same modern ideas that their party was fighting against. So Takeshi ordered his people to have Toyo taken off the map. In the end, this worked solely against his favor. Toyo happened to be good friends with the former head of Tosa, Yamauchi, and with Toyo's death came even further investigation into the Tosa party on accounts of domestic terrorism. This resulted in the arrest of their leader, Takechi, and him being taken into custody until further notice. Now that his leader was out the picture and the rest of the party was going to shambles, Izo was out here on his own. He begins to journey under a different alias and goes into hiding in Kyoto. But with him living life on the run, this solution could only last him so long. Soon enough, Izo too was arrested on the charges of robbery. The rest of the party would go on to be captured as well. So, this scumbag, Takechi, has a letter sent to Izo while he's in custody. He flat out tells this man, "Look bro, between you and me, you're better off dead. I'm certain that your parents would be disgusted by your behavior anyway." And that's not all. Even the members from the group were saying that they should poison Izo so he doesn't snitch on everybody else. But Takechi told them, "No, we can't do it that way." Not out of concern for how Izo turned out. No, his logic was, I don't want him to survive the poison and end up snitching on us anyway. Wow. You lay down with dogs and you get back up with fleas. Izo was tortured until the point where he finally gave up an answer. He was then beheaded and his leader was forced to commit suicide. The rest of the members would follow suit. But in grand order, things pan out a little different. Izo is introduced holding a grudge against Ryoma for leaving the squad in the first place. But it honestly makes a lot of sense. When you spend your whole life looking up to somebody just for them to betray you in the end, I could see somebody not wanting to believe that. Since Ryoma was a person that came late and left early, it was much easier for Izo to hate him as a way of accepting the cold hard truth. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Shout out to all the patrons, and I will be back with more Tight Moon content. It is your boy Tsiah. I'm out.